obscure world of parking. We use it every day, but have we really capitalized on the intricacies of our industry? In this podcast, the Parking Network will go behind the scenes and talk to industry professionals about all things parking, from the horizon of evolving technology and even stories of the old days. We hope to encourage and inspire operators and property managers alike to look at parking through a new lens. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Our Parking Industry Podcast. I'm Krista Olien, and I'm here with Leigh Thomas and the Clyde Wilson. We are recording our follow-up episode to our Fed Revolte interview. Fed is a very interesting and dynamic parking manager. He is actually the director of parking and curb management in Tampa, the city of Tampa in Florida. He's the 2024 Innovator of the Year award winner for NPA. And he has done some edgy things that we like to discuss here on the podcast. We discussed everything from scooters to hurricanes to, frictionless parking and policy and all the things in between. So it was a wonderful interview. Clyde, what was one of your favorite takeaways from that conversation with Fed?
It was very interesting listening to him because this is one of those true parking guys again, who is in a job that he thoroughly enjoys. It's kind of funny. These guys that started in college valeting cars and the ones that stick it out and end up where Fed is always have that sense of on the street, customer service, that they have those big things that are so important to managing a parking operation. And you could hear it in his voice. And he's also an innovator. He looked at a problem and said, I think we can do better than that. When I was listening to that, it was such a pleasure to listen to him because he just had all those pieces, and then he had that one that really made him stand out. So I was really, really enjoyed his interview.
Yeah, and I think one of the pieces to being an innovator is jumping in and taking that risk. So he had buy-in from some, but maybe not from all, but he felt confident in what he was pushing. And so he felt comfortable in taking that risk. And that's, it's either going to fail or be wildly successful. And he got to experience the wildly successful part. And if it fails, then you go back, try something new. And he touched on that also, on kind of what that process looks like and how it's okay to take the risk. You just have to be okay to pull back and be like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Leigh, what was your favorite part of that conversation?
Well, one of the first things he said to us was that he shows up to work to do better every day. And I thought that is a profound statement. I think sometimes we get kind of settled in a groove. Maybe we're riding on some success, but apparently Fed does not. He shows up every day with the question of what is really happening and how can we do better? And I think that's a very respectable way to show up to work every day.
Very much, very much. Part of when you get to know him, part of that he's a great manager. Tampa is lucky to have this young man.
Absolutely.
So what could other municipal parking directors do like Fed to improve their municipalities today?
Watch our podcasts and listen to Fed. He was just a very good manager. And so anybody that's out there listening to him and kind of taking some of the leadership that he offered, he knows what he's doing. He comes to work every day going, I'm in the parking business, and it's a transformational business right now. There's a lot of new opportunities out there. The main thing is, people like him have one thing that not everybody has. He has confidence in his decision-making ability to go out there and try something new. And so he's not afraid to go try something new because he has confidence that he's thought through it and that his decision isn't far off, at least. So those are special people, and it's one of those very important traits that just not everybody has. The people in the parking business out there, the other managers in other cities, have some of the same problems he faced, and they're in the same industry we're all in. It's a transformational industry. There's new things coming in. You don't have to buy all of them. You have to be critical, but you have to have confidence in yourself to look at those and say, that fits into improving my business, my city, and I want to try it. And then when you try it, you're involved. I mean, you have to be in there, boots on the ground day one, to make the evaluation as quickly as you can as to whether it works. So I feel like Fed is, when he does something new, I kind of feel like he's standing right there on the island. watching. So I think it's, the most important thing another parking manager can do is to watch this interview and see Fed and what he's talks about.
Yeah, I think another common theme we hear, especially from municipal parking, is this idea of communication. So he has to communicate with a variety of stakeholders, and that's not unique to municipality parking, but it is definitely higher up on the list of must-dos at municipal parking. But communication and all the stakeholders that are involved, whether it be from the customer perspective or the policymakers and the officials in the government that you're supporting, what that looks like to communicate to both sides and be that middleman effectively.
Which doesn't necessarily mean you have all the answers. That was something that he mentioned, is being a leader doesn't mean that you have all the answers or that you fix everything. It's that you listen and you let people feel heard. Sometimes the requests are really strange and all you can say is, I will look into that right now. I wonder, and we didn't ask this on the interview, so if we had an episode number 2, I would like to know more about his team. Like we've said, he does seem open to taking risks. He has a lot of confidence. He has a lot of bandwidth for communication. But surely he doesn't do it all by himself. He must have hired a wonderful team to implement his innovative ideas and help him with the boots on the ground work. So I wonder what that hiring process is like for him.
I think that's a really solid point. So he, like you said, he's not doing it all by himself. So I agree with you. I'm curious about, who's supporting him, how he's made those decisions and found the right people to put in the right places to best support the big things that Tampa's doing. So another thing we discussed was the unique concept of hurricane preparedness and how Tampa impacts that. And, that is not a universal idea either. So whenever we think about natural disasters and how parking is connected to that, it seems very, very far apart. But he found a way to use the parking facilities in Tampa to support the community, which I think is really key. And, back to that communication piece, he cares about our community. He has made decisions that really pinpoint and show his care about the people in Tampa. And so I think that definitely solidifies that relationship between parking, as people think about it sometimes, and the community of Tampa.
Hurricane preparedness was something I had to learn too, because way back 30 years ago, South Florida, or Florida in general, was one of my areas of responsibility. Also New Orleans. And so all of those places took some pretty big hits from hurricanes. So hurricane preparedness was something I really had to learn. And it was fun to listen to him because he's been through the same process, done a great job in understanding the role that they can play in helping. The parking structures, above ground parking structures, tend to do really well in hurricanes. So they're a good, safe place to put stuff. We used to have people pull their boats out of the water and bring them in the garage and put them in the garage so that their boats would have a place to go instead of being blown away forever. And then the other thing is you just have to prepare everything. We took, I don't know whether I did the right thing or not, but we took big plastic garbage bags and put them over all of the equipment, because we still had a lot of parks equipment. Put them over the equipment, taped them at the bottom to keep water from coming up and getting in, and then the water blowing into the equipment. 100-mile-an-hour winds full of water blowing into parking equipment kills it. So it was a lot, and we had to have a program so that there was just too much to do, so that everybody knew when the day comes that we have to start acting hurricane, you all have to do your job. So we always tried to have written procedures for every garage and how we were going to handle it. So it was interesting. And he sounded like he was way ahead of us. So he understood what his job was. And then it was special to get everybody ready for the hurricane.
Another way that I felt like he was ahead of some other locations is his curb management, awareness, and ideas. How important is curb management to our municipalities right now?
Curb management is becoming a really, really big thing, because there's so much battle for the curb. And municipalities put parking meters on the streets, and it's a source of income. And how we're going to manage that going forward. I got into this about 5 years ago with the Temecula group, and everybody, like always, said I didn't know what I was talking about. So I kind of felt like when everybody was telling me I didn't know what I was talking about, that what I was talking about was probably really going to happen. And but it is a challenge, and I don't think we as an industry, I know I can say this with confidence. We as an industry are not doing everything we need to do to get these guys ready, because there's a lot of people now, some more of these tech companies that have figured out there's money to be made on the curb. So there's a zillion new solutions of you have to do this and put our stuff in, and we give you this information and you get that. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of new stuff coming in that's going to make things really tough for Fed to sort it all out and get to what he really needs to manage the curb. And, the real answer to that is somebody, Fed and somebody in the city, have to decide how we're going to manage the curb, and then you go do it. Right now, there's just a lot of things being thrown at how to manage the curb or what's coming. Anybody that wants to call me, you're welcome to. My ideas are going to be slightly different from theirs. But learning how to manage the curb and then putting together a program is going to be a very major part of Fed's future. It's a big issue.
Yeah, I think we've touched a lot lately on having those policies and procedures or a management plan for every part of the industry that impacts your specific location. And those policies and procedures cannot be, or the management plan cannot be, a one size fits all. So for the city of Tampa, managing the curb, there's going to have to be some zoning put into place, because the curbs in one area that's really highly trafficked won't be the same management plan as curbs in another area where the traffic's maybe a little lower and only really high on the weekdays, whereas weekend traffic's high in another area, or things like that. So those management plans have to be specific and unique to those areas. And we've talked about it with EV charging stations and the management plans for those. And so curb management's just another one of those plans you have to have in place. So we've got hurricane plans, curb management plans, all the plans.
All of them.
Yes. So one thing that's interesting about municipalities that is, again, unique to them is that high impact of policy and the influence of the policy makers on the decisions that are being made by Fed's group. So what does that look like in municipalities, Clyde? What is the dynamic? How can it best be handled? What are some good practices?
I want to be sure I know where you're going with this. So can you kind of ask that question one more time?
Yes. So what are some good practices for the relationship and the communication styles between the people in the parking curb management group for a city, for a municipality, and the policy makers that impact those decisions that he's able to make?
That's a great question, but it's also a big challenge for the on-street or for the city parking managers going forward. And it comes back to, we kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, developing the plans or the options of plans. There are several in the curb management as things going forward. There are several different decisions you can make in how you want to manage your curb. And developing the plan, looking at the technology that's available to you to be able to manage it, narrow that down really closely, and then it's the communication skills. This is all going to come down to communication skills, because you're trying to go to a city council that is full of 6, 8 totally different people with totally different interests. And you've got, the people you report to directly above you, but then you've got to get it to a city council. Preparing this communication is going to be the hardest challenge he's going to have. I think Fed and the other parking managers out there of other municipalities are, if they start prioritizing it, are going to be perfectly capable of developing a plan and deciding how they're going to do it. The single biggest challenge they're going to have is being able to carry this forward and get the acceptance that they need. So it's that communications plan. It's that great communications plan of putting it together in a way that you can present a really complicated subject to a bunch of people in about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And get their buy-in. So you almost have to be in sales.
Yes, you do.
And
You have to be able to know how to do that 5 minutes. And inside that 5 minutes, you've got their total attention, and you touched every one of the key factors, and you didn't touch any of the bullshit. You stayed on the key factors. So that's a challenge. It'll be fun to watch these guys pull this off around the country, but they're all going to have to do it.
Yeah, and just seeing what him in particular has been able to put into place, it seems like he and his team have been really successful at presenting those plans and getting
Seems like it.
approval and putting them into motion. We're
Right.
hearing a common struggle between municipalities and also university parking, that they have to get approval by this group that they're kind of disjointed from on a regular basis. And
Right.
so, how do you collect the information, accurately present what you need, be sure that they understand the severity of the situation or the need of the situation, and how it will improve whenever they have all of these other parts feeding into them? So, parking is just a slice of the revenue pie for them. So, how do those people communicate that parking is important? It hasn't been foreseen that way, but how is it important, and how, like, what are some approaches that they can take? I heard you say the 5 minute, make sure you're really direct with the points, don't add a lot of fluff. What are some other ideas for that communication piece?
Well, it's, thinking through this and looking at what we do and what we've done over the years and looking at their challenges. Boy, this is hard to explain. This is a really important subject to everybody the feds of the world are going to talk to. It's important to his bosses, the people he reports to directly, but it's also important to the city council, because you probably don't get to roll out too many curb management programs until you get it right. You're going to have to get it right pretty early on. So I think it's this, these type of programs always are. You really have to think through what you're trying to accomplish. You have to look at who you're reporting to and see, what are their priorities going to be? Are there people up here who are going to kill this? Got to be prepared for them. And I think the people that are experienced in putting this together probably understand that. I remember one of the university people that we were just talking about, and when you brought university into this discussion piece, that I was having lunch with a few months after she had started her new job at a university, and she asked what was the most important thing I could tell her. And I said, everybody above you doesn't give a crap about parking. You have to learn how to make it important in a few words, and you have to learn how to report to them, because you die out here if you're by yourself and they're not supporting you. You'll only be successful at this if you can figure out how to make them support you. And so you've got to take somebody who doesn't give a crap about what you're doing and get good decisions out of them. So the biggest challenge to the parking business isn't parking. Biggest challenge to the parking business is communicating.
And nothing communicates more efficiently than money. It seems like Krista, like you said a moment ago, it seems like one way that is a very effective way to advocate for your needs in the parking world is to quantify what a parking space is worth. Parking is important, and we can say that all day long. But if we can tie a dollar amount to a parking space and say, hey, did you realize that the spaces on this curb are worth X dollars a year? That is a really good way to highlight the value of parking in any situation. We had a really interesting project several months ago now. It was with a medical center. And part of the things I got to learn on that project was how to value a space. And I think that could be a key component to advocating and asking for what you need, is learning how to value a space. So if you're in a situation where you are needing help, you should give us a call, because this is something that we're good at. This is something that we can help you with, is look at your spaces, look at your market, and help you understand the monetary value of your space in your region.
And one of the big pieces that we do for our Class A commercial office reviews is we look at what's the value of that space currently, and also what's the potential value for that space. So are you meeting the potential even? So selling it as, this is what we're getting, this is what we're not getting, but this is also the potential of what we could get if they're trying to sell that idea. So I love that idea of putting a number to it, putting a value to it, because like you said, money talks.
Well, Leigh was leading up to a bigger value, because she knew what she was heading toward The value of the parking space is the total amount of income that medical office building gets, X millions of dollars, divided by the number of parking spaces out there. Take a space away and the number goes down because you can't get people there or you can't get staff there to do the jobs. So the value of the parking space is directly related to the value of the income of the building, not the cost of parking. And that's great. So it's important to bring it down to that, because Krista starts this conversation with money and value, and Leigh goes right into the value of a parking space. And you put those together in a part of that 5 minutes, and you can put some really big understanding on some people sitting up there on their platform of what this is about, and they better pay attention. So you take your two conversations and you put them together, and you put the real value of the parking space out there, not the $2.50 at value, the hundreds of thousands of dollars of value that space is worth. Then people start paying attention. And you know what? Nobody ever does that. Nobody ever does it.
We do.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, it's hard to see the sign posted outside of somewhere that's like $12 for 4 hours and think that equates to millions of dollars for that location. That $12 for that 4 hours, it seems small. Like, that's pennies, right? But then whenever you really look at the budget and what it contributes to that one little space is a big difference. That little $12 at a time, which I think has been a challenge the parking industry has experienced forever, that it's small amounts of revenue that add up to a lot whenever you really zoom out and look at it.
It transforms the question from we don't have money to invest in parking to we can't afford to neglect our parking. It's really the transforming factor.
So it's, we don't have money because we haven't invested in parking. Turn what you said, just turn it around. Yes, we haven't invested in parking. We don't have people coming. We're down on people that bring money into our door every day. And so guess what? We've screwed up, and we didn't give parking the money they need to be sure we get everybody on campus, in their classroom, into the bookstore, and all the professors with all the people coming to visit them. We didn't get them all there.
Or put the people in place who understand the logistics of parking and can make it run effectively.
Yes.
And take that first step to do something different than what's currently being done. I think that's like we said, the true mark of an innovator,
Right.
and not being afraid to do something different. Come to work every day doing a little bit better than you did the day before. Well, we had a great conversation with Fed, and then we had a great conversation today. So I hope you enjoyed our time, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Our Parking Industry podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody. See you next time.
To quote one of the greatest business minds of our time, Charles Munger, he said, "The best thing a human can do is help another human being know more." Here on Our Parking Industry podcast, we want to provide knowledge and resources. If you heard something that sparked your curiosity in today's episode, please reach out on our socials at TPN Consulting. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. See you next time on Our Parking Industry.